am here with Bridget Croteau, Mrs. Suffolk County. I'm really excited because Bridget has really been an advocate for dynamic moms since since the very beginning, since we first started, we connected, and you've done so much for us. You've contributed to the Mom of the Month for several months, and you also wrote us our most recent posting for Mom Tips, which went out. So that was really exciting, and we do have a blog coming up from her. But today, I'm going to ask her tons of questions about her journey and also being Mrs. Suffolk County, because I didn't even know there was a Mrs. Suffolk County. I thought it was just Miss whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was
until I didn't. I didn't know there were Mrs. anything.
So I'm shocked about it. So I'm excited to hear about both things. Why don't we start off by talking about your journey? How did you get to this point? Let's just go there. So you have 2 kids.
I do. I have 2 girls, Natalie and Chloe, who are 7 and 5. And I am a big giant planner. I am a recovering perfectionist, as I like to call myself. I am formerly a science teacher for middle school and high school, and I was laid off when those tons of teachers were being laid off a number of years ago, and my husband and I had wanted to start kids soon in that time frame anyway, so we said, hey, why not? I'm home. Sounds like a great time to start. So we had my daughter Natalie, and pregnancy was great, but we were very unexpectedly induced, and she ended up in the NICU for a week. So between the job loss and having that kind of identity loss, because I didn't do a whole lot of other things for myself before that, I was very focused on my career, so I didn't really know
who you were outside of being a science teacher,
exactly,
sort of, which I think happens to a lot of people in motherhood too.
Yes.
I know a lot of our viewers, when they speak to me or some other people, one of the things that a lot of moms say is, in the first few years, they don't even know who they are anymore. So that's why I'm excited to talk to you about some of this, because clearly you've been able to bring together your motherhood with, your individuality and bring the two things together, which I think a lot of people really long for and want to experience. So I'm curious to find out how this all merged together for you. So you had your baby, your oldest, who's now 7, and you were already kind of sad, devastated, it sounds like, because you lost your job, and you had that identity shift, and now she's in the NICU.
Yeah, and we had trouble breastfeeding, and I was very adamant that this was going to work. So the breastfeeding didn't work, the birth did not go anything like how we had wanted it to go. So I felt a lot of guilt. You see your baby in the little incubators with a billion wires all over them. It was heartbreaking, and I felt like I must have done something wrong for her to end up there, and I didn't know what I did wrong, and of course I didn't do anything wrong, but it just kind of was what it was. But it was devastating to me as a mom. I felt terrible, and then when we finally got her home, breastfeeding never improved. And I continued to feel terrible about myself. I thought I was the worst mom on the planet. I thought I was the worst wife on the planet. I had days where I was like, I'm just gonna move out because they're better off without me being here, because what good am I?
So that's when you, and I want to just stop and say, so we have, hi Jen.
Hi.
We actually have Jen Berry watching, and Jen Berry and I just did an interview, and she talked about PMAD.
Yes.
So it's very interesting that we're talking about this now, and it sounds like that was the start of that experience for you. Did you know what that was at the time, though?
I did. I did. In the many books that I had read while I was pregnant.
Because you're a recovering perfectionist, of course you prepared.
Of course I did. We had read a little blurb about, what PMAD, and I think then they only called it postpartum depression, and so we knew what it was. I knew that I had risk factors for it, like the job loss, my daughter being in the NICU. I've had depression and anxiety as a teenager and as a young adult, so I knew I had those risk factors, but I didn't know what else I could do to prepare myself other than just knowing that it was something that could maybe happen. So we didn't do anything for it. So we just kind of crossed our fingers and said, please don't happen to us.
Okay.
But it did, and I think it honestly started from the first second. But I was in denial for like 4 months. I cried, and I just blamed it on everything else. Oh, anybody who had trouble breastfeeding would feel like stressed out too, and anybody whose daughter was in the NICU would feel stressed out too. And of course you would. But when she's home for 4 months afterward,
it went on for too long.
It went on for too long, and I finally clicked in my head one day, like, I'm not myself anymore, and I shouldn't be crying this often. This is like not normal anymore. And I talked to my husband. I was like, listen, I think I have postpartum depression. He was like, it's okay, we're going to get you help, and it's going to be okay.
Oh my gosh, it's going to like make me cry.
And being the perfectionist that I am, and recovering from, hopefully, I still had the stack of papers that the hospital sent us home for, and in there was a flyer for a support group for postpartum depression.
Wow.
So
perfect.
I called them that very next day. It was Sunday when I told my husband. I called him on Monday. I called my OB office to go get in there for an appointment. Luckily, they were able to get me in that week. Unfortunately, their resources were very limited. They had a list of therapists for me to call, but they were all outdated. Like, the phone numbers didn't work, or there was no answer, no answering machine, and things like that. So I was able to find a therapist through my insurance. And the therapists I had seen were great. And the support group was like the best thing in the entire world, though. Like, to find moms that could say, me too.
And that was part of the references that they...
That was from the hospital.
Oh, okay. So that was like separate than the doctor's office.
Yes.
I think we have a question. Did you know you were in it when you were in it? And that's sort of what you were just talking about.
It took me a while to kind of get the idea in my head that, like, this is like not okay. But yeah, I mean, I did eventually catch it. Just...
Thank goodness you were aware. And you know what it sounds like? And I want to get back to, how the support group helped you. But I think it's really important to note that you were empowered through education.
Yes.
You were 100%. Aware of the fact that this even existed. And it's because you educated yourself.
Yes.
So that was already, like step one was pre-education. And so many people, unfortunately, don't have that, don't do it, and it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't even know that it's a thing.
Yeah.
So you were very fortunate in that you already knew that it existed, you knew your risk factors, you saved the information, and you took steps. So the in-person support group for you, it sounds like, is what really started to bring you forward.
The feeling of that camaraderie with other women, to be able to say, oh yeah, I felt that too, or I've thought that too, or I'm going through this too. And we all had very different stories and very different things that we were going through, but we all had that common thread of, like, can all connect to each other. It was invaluable, really. And then the best part of that group to me was they had a family night where a mom who had gone through it came in and told us her story. And in addition to that, a family member who was caring for her and went through it alongside her. In my case, it was a mom who went through it, and her mom came in, and they both shared their stories, so you got the perspective of what it was like for the mom who went through it, and then also from a family member who witnessed her going through it, and what it was like from their angle. And people in the support group, the members of the group, were invited to bring whoever they wanted to, their spouse, their mom, their dad, their sister, cousin, friend, whoever.
Any family or support person.
Yeah, anybody who was involved in your life and supporting you. So my husband, my mom, and my dad all came.
Oh, you could bring more than one.
Yes,
oh, that's awesome.
You could bring a crowd.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Whoever's in your corner for you, you could bring.
That's awesome.
And they loved it just as much as I did. They were so grateful to hear a story from a mom who went through it, and that she got through it, and then they were able to get educated too, because they can ask questions, and how do I help her, and
that's awesome.
All this sort of stuff. So it was just such a great resource.
And seeing other people, like, that you're not alone.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they know that already, but it almost, I think, feels better when you're around other people, like you're saying, because it actually, it's more tangible to you. You can actually see that you're not alone versus reading the statistics.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
actually experience it.
Absolutely.
So from the support group, did you do anything in addition to that? Did you have to see a therapist? Did you have to?
I went to therapy, and the talk therapy really helped me, because I just needed, like, sort of that validation of, you're going to be okay, and, like, they gave me ways to kind of work through it and reframing thoughts. And all that sort of stuff. So just being able to talk to somebody was really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I did.
And that's sort of, would you say that really it was just consistently going through the support groups, having the therapy, and having the family support that helped you to kind of recover from postpartum depression and move forward?
Yeah, and taking care of myself. The support
Self-care.
Self-care. The support group really stressed taking care of yourself. They gave the example of putting an oxygen mask on an airplane, how you're supposed to do it for yourself first before you take care of other people.
Yes.
So they told us this, like, I think probably almost every single meeting. They're like, take care of yourself.
Because you forget so easily.
Yes.
I mean, I know I do. I say you, but I know I do. I know a lot of, not just people, but moms in particular do, because our biological instinct is to save our child, do for our child, do for somebody else, not necessarily, I think, to think of ourselves. But, you know, that wasn't, I think when that was programmed in us, we didn't have all these other factors. You know, it was really just for, you know, the purposes of preservation. And now we have work and other family things going on, and a lot of external factors that I think add to stressors that can occur.
Yeah.
So now I want to kind of go on a little bit more, because you have such an interesting story since then, because you have a second child, and I remember reading that this happened to you again, and I want to hear about how that all came together and how you coped with it the second time, because since then you've also written a book that has sold internationally. So super cool. Yes, it is
me again.
Yes, and it's about her journey through postpartum depression. And or would you call it just general PMAD, or would you? I'm learning a little bit more about how to discern the two.
In general, it's called PMAD because there's so many.
There's anxiety.
There's OCD. There's PTSD. There's all sorts of things that fall under the umbrella.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people know postpartum depression mostly because they hear that mostly.
Yeah.
But I went through postpartum depression with my first daughter with a touch of anxiety.
Okay.
And the second time was anxiety.
Okay. So your experience with PMAD is really covered in the book. Does it have both of your kids in there, or is it just post one? Okay.
Yeah, it has both.
Yeah, and you're going to have, and so super pumped about this. Bridget is going to be at our expo on May 19th, and she's going to be signing her book and also speaking there. So that's going to be awesome.
Super excited.
Yeah, so you're going to bring a ton of books, right?
Of course I will.
Okay, awesome. So I just wanted to go, you can see that Bridget has a sash on, and it says Mrs. Suffolk County. So I'm really excited to kind of progress and see a little bit more about how that unfolded. Did you become Mrs. Suffolk County after your first or your second? When did that journey begin?
So after I went through postpartum anxiety with my youngest and I started to recover, I had made a promise to myself during the first instance that I was when I was better, I was going to give back and help moms who were going through this too. So, you know, we had another baby, so I was like, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm pregnant, you know, whatever. So we went through the anxiety after I had my second daughter, but once I was better from that, I was like, okay, I made that promise.
Yeah.
I'm going to make good on it. And I contacted the Postpartum Resource Center of New York, and I started volunteering there. And in the meantime, I had also heard about Mrs. Pageants very, like, randomly, because I didn't know Mrs. Pageants were a thing. Like, I always thought of, like, Miss and kids pageants and whatever, but I didn't know.
Were you involved in that earlier in your life?
No,
or
never.
Just kind of, like, all of a sudden, randomly, you started hearing about it?
Yeah,
like,
I just, like, kind of,
you weren't already on the scene in some way?
No. I've never done pageants before I entered this, and I had looked into trying to find the Mrs. Pageant that was right for me. I didn't know that there were like so many of them. But I stumbled upon the Mrs. New York America pageant. And you can find us at mrsnYamerica.com.
That is so cool.
And it's such an awesome pageant. My director, Diane, is incredible. I had a phone conversation with her to find out about the pageant and like what sort of entails and like learn about her. And she's just genuinely like the sweetest, nicest person on the face of the earth. Like, she's so supportive and she's so nice and just kind and bubbly, and she's a former Mrs. America and former Mrs. World.
Oh, are you serious?
She was Mrs. World 2007.
Oh,
so
wow,
she's got experience and she knows what she's talking about, and she's gorgeous and she's so nice and so kind, and I just fell in love with her. Like, I was like, no, I have to like work with Diane.
Yeah.
So I signed up and I started volunteering with the Postpartum Resource Center of New York, and it's just grown so much since then. This is now my 4th year being Mrs. Suffolk County, and I've grown with the Postpartum Resource Center over these past 4 years.
So I know that you're running for Mrs. New York.
Yes.
And is this your first time running for Mrs. New York?
Time number 4.
Okay. It's probably, imagine it's like extreme. So a couple of things, backtrack. First of all, I imagine that it's extremely competitive. Cause
it is. New York's a tough state. We have a lot of women who are competing and who have competed in previous years with me, and they're all beautiful, they're all intelligent,
right.
They're all like super involved in their communities and have platforms
right.
that they're passionate about. So it's competitive.
So what I'm really excited to mention about that is that 2 things. So a few things came up in the last 3 minutes of our discussion that I want to reiterate to people who are watching. Number 1, you talked about wanting to give back and support, and I'm going to try not to get teary-eyed here, but what I love about that is that in working with dynamic moms, I have met over and over and over and over again so many incredible women who come from a place of, I've been there and I really want to help, and it is so genuine. And I can tell you, being next to Bridget, she clearly, very genuinely comes from a place of I don't want you to experience that pain. It's true. I can feel it. It's palpable. And I mean, that is so incredible, because it's not only do you have that nurturing quality to your children, but you very clearly want to spread that to other people, because you don't want them to struggle the way you did, and because you know they don't have to. And so you're acting as an advocate for people to have a better quality of life and to experience this personal, it's really incredible to experience this personal value. Yeah, I'm really impressed and really in awe that I get to be around, so many incredible women. It's true. So many incredible women, and now I get to meet you in person. We've had a lot of interactions, via online and text messages and stuff, but I've never actually got to sit next to you and see, and feel what kind of person you are and how genuine that is. So I am just honored to be sitting next to you and hearing all of this. Number 1.
Oh, thanks. So great to finally meet you
cool.
in person.
It's awesome.
And just be here. This is just female power.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's really incredible. And to all of that, to add on to that, I'm really excited when you told me that this is your 4th run, because I ask a couple of questions before we interview, but for anybody who's watching who hasn't interviewed with me, it's pretty loose. We mostly just chat and we let it evolve. And I didn't know that you had run, 4 times.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was so taken aback, because in a good way, because it's you didn't stop. You're not stopping.
I keep going.
Yeah, you keep going.
That's that New York grit.
So funny. You keep going, and that, I think, more than anything else, is what inspires other women when they're feeling, when we're supporting each other, what inspires them to feel oh wait, I've got this. Yeah. And it's not even, I've honestly stopped hashtagging I've got this to hashtag we've got this, because, I'm learning more and more and more that we're all strong women who have vulnerable moments.
Yes.
And in those
100%.
vulnerable moments, there's people, like you or someone else who's an advocate who will step in and help you realize how strong you really are. So for you to go back 4 times, is really very, very inspiring, and you're just an incredible role model already to your daughters.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you. That means a lot.
It's true. I mean, that's what we teach our kids, right?
Yeah.
Is how to kind of keep going, how to pursue their passion and not give up.
Yes.
And so it's really a gift that you're able to do that. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
I wanted to go back and say that, because it was really important for me to get through. Yeah, you got it.
And the Mrs. New York pageant is just so incredible, and that's why I keep going back, because all the women are just so incredible, and no one is catty, and you see in movies and stuff.
That's what was my next question. What is that like?
Off each other's head, nobody's doing anything like that. Everybody's super supportive of everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody's really genuinely kind, and they're there to do exactly what I'm doing. They're there to promote their cause and have fun and have like, it's a fun girls' weekend, and you get to dress up and be pretty and have your makeup done.
No, that's awesome.
And it's so much fun, and there's just so much female strength there.
Yeah.
There's all strong, beautiful, amazing women there, and that's why I keep going back. And I've made so many friends through this journey, and they're all over New York State. So, I mean, I know people, you know, upstate. I have friends in Westchester. I have a friend in Nassau County who's my pageant bestie. And
oh, that's awesome. Pageant bestie. I love that. And I'm glad that you said that. It's not like what people see on movies and stuff, because like I said, I didn't know what, you know, Mrs. Suffolk County was. And my only idea is what you see on TV and in movies is like, you know, it's all about how you look and stuff like that. And that leads me to the next thing I wanted to cover, which before the interview, we were just like chatting, and I was asking you, what was it like? Because they have like swimsuit stuff, right? Like that is a real thing. Swimsuit, is it a competition, or what do they call it?
The swimsuit portion.
The swimsuit portion. I think back in like the 70s it was called a swimsuit competition, and then over time it turned into something different.
Yeah, I mean, people call it all sorts of things, so.
Okay. But the swimsuit portion of the Mrs. Suffolk County, and then again Mrs. New York. What was that like for you? Because I know as a mom, and I can't speak for all mothers, because I've met plenty of moms who are like, this is what's going on, you know, but I've also met a lot of moms who feel extremely uncomfortable in a bathing suit after having children, no matter how postpartum they are. Mm-hmm. They say something, you know, they make comments about their body. Yeah. They feel like they always have to cover up, and they don't feel good about it. They don't look forward to going to the pool or the water, you know, because they're concerned about how they look. What was it like to have to wear a bathing suit in front of, I guess, thousands of people or hundreds of people? Hundreds of people?
Hundreds, yeah. So there's no pageant for the Mrs. Suffolk County title. You have to apply, and Diane will say yay or nay if you're able to compete for Mrs. New York. But I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was definitely a little scared to compete in swimsuit after having my second daughter. I think I was like 18 months postpartum at that point, the first time I competed. So it was definitely a little nerve-wracking, because, I mean, pregnancy does things to your body that, you know,
you don't look the same as you did before.
You can't always put everything back where it was to begin with. Yeah. So that certainly motivated me to get myself in gear and start taking care of myself physically. I started exercising daily and eating better. And I definitely had gotten in much better shape than I was. So I felt more comfortable because I was starting to take care of myself physically. But yeah, like now, I mean, it's still nerve-wracking.
But at first...
But it's not so bad.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's not that bad. And we have women of all shapes and sizes
That's great.
Competing. There's not everybody, you know, is 6 feet tall and a size 0.
Right.
There's all sorts of, you know, I'm 5'3" and I'm itty bitty, you know, tiny short girl on the stage.
Yeah.
But we have tall women, short women, petite
it's
women.
Diverse.
It's very
nice.
diverse, which
That's
is
nice.
really, really nice. So nobody's really sitting there and saying like, oh
look
my God, look at her. Like nobody's doing any of that.
So it's more about fitness and self-care.
Yeah, it's more of like the taking care of yourself, and that you can, you know, see that the woman who won, she takes care of herself. It's not necessarily about being a size 0. It's taking care of yourself.
It's about, so it was it was like an inspirational factor for you to begin more self-care in terms of physical fitness and nutrition and stuff like that, which I think is important to note, because everybody has different things that inspire them. Some people, you know, some people, it's not the way they look. Some people, it's the way they feel. Awesome, whatever. But I had somebody say to me recently, she was like, you know what? When you really don't feel like it, think about how you want to look and let vanity be your guide. And I have to tell you, I was a little like, I didn't feel cool about that at first. And then I stopped and I thought about it, and I was like, well, actually though, that's true. I was like, sometimes, you know, just to kind of get me over the hump, I am thinking a little bit about, you know, when I go to the gym and I don't feel like going to the gym, I think, you know what, but I do really like my biceps. So if I want to keep those, you know, and you know, it doesn't mean that I don't also enjoy feeling strong.
Yes.
I would say 90% of the time that's the case. But when there's like that 10% of the time where I just don't want to get out of bed, or I don't want to change my clothes, or whatever it is, sometimes it is the the way that I look that does inspire me. And that doesn't have to be the case for everybody. I want to make that very, very clear. I think the take home from that is to accept and be genuine with what it comes to that does inspire you.
Yes.
I think that's what you need to own is what inspires you in this moment. Don't judge yourself for it. If it's getting you to a place where you feel more confident and comfortable, and it's not hurting anybody and it's not hurting you, like, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's good to take care of yourself, and whatever the motivation is to start, once you're in the habit of doing it, you kind of stick with it.
Yeah.
Like, I hated working out, like, even for my wedding. You can ask my husband. We started going to a gym to get in shape. I stopped going. Even my wedding couldn't, like, motivate me, but, like, for some reason, this motivated me, and then I stuck with it, and because I stuck with it, it became a habit, and now I keep doing it.
That's awesome.
And it's a stress relief for me. Like, I'm able to go and, like, get those endorphins going, and I feel so much better just physically, and I work out.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about, just to kind of circle back around to your second child, because you said the second time you now had more of the anxiety component of PMAD. Now, with the first child, you knew about it, you were educated, but, it took you 4 months before you realized that you needed to get some help. What did you do with the second? Did you go into it feeling like this isn't going to happen to me? Were you open to it happening again?
I was fearful that it would happen again. And at the same time, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with lung cancer when I was like 7 months pregnant. And so she had surgery, and then she was going to start chemo like days before my daughter was born. I was very fearful that I would have it again, because having depression and anxiety previously, or having PMAD previously, is a risk factor for having it again. Doesn't mean you will, but it's, an added little thing in there that you might get it again. So what we did was we hired a postpartum doula to come help. So shout out to all the postpartum doulas out there, because you guys are amazing.
We have quite a few that are
you
like
guys
part of
rock
moms.
and are the best people like ever. Like, thank you, seriously.
Yay!
So we found a postpartum doula who came when my husband returned to work. He took a few weeks off, so she came and helped me out around my house, and she let me take a nap. She vacuumed my living room. She helped with breastfeeding. She would help get my daughter to take something that wasn't my breast for breastfeeding. And, she was just incredible. And she stayed with us until my youngest was about 3 months old. But then once she left, everything kind of caught up with me, all of the stress of what was going on with my mother-in-law's health. And my daughter was not a great sleeper. My first daughter slept pretty darn good, and we were kind of spoiled. My second daughter was up all hours of the night to breastfeed, and I had trouble getting back to sleep after breastfeeding her. So not only was I losing the 20 or so minutes to breastfeed her, but I was up beyond that.
Right.
So,
lack of sleep is huge.
Yes, sleep deprivation is a form of torture, which it's bad. And the sleep deprivation just caught up with me, and I became very anxious, especially about anything involving sleep schedules or schedules in general. So if she was supposed to nap at 10:30 and her sleepy cues were coming up around 10:30 and she wasn't sleeping then, I would start to feel that anxiety build up inside of me.
Because that was your time, right?
I felt like if she didn't nap then, and that 5 minutes lost or that nap lost was going to put her in a sleep deprivation, and then when you're sleep deprived, you have a harder time getting to sleep.
Right.
And then it just would snowball very quickly into she's never going to sleep again, and I'm never going to sleep again from a missed nap, and it became just this huge weight on me, and I would feel the anxiety build up inside of me and just feel dread. And I knew what it was, and I knew I was not doing okay, so I reached out for therapy again, and I went to support group again.
Great.
And it helped, And then ultimately what really helped was sleep training her, because I got so bad to the point that I was convinced there was something wrong with her and that's why she just couldn't sleep well. And I took her to the pediatrician, and they were like, we'll run some blood work just to make sure, but I'm pretty convinced she's fine, and who I'm worried about is you.
Right.
And you need to get some sleep.
Yeah.
So they were like, she was like 7 or 8 months old at this time. And they were like, have you thought about sleep training her? And I was like, no, why would I want to make her like cry? She cries enough as it is. Like, why would I want to do that? And my husband and my mom ended up convincing me to do it. And thank you to my mommy, because she did the first 2 days of sleep training for us. She was like, you need to sleep, and you need, like, just let us try.
Yeah.
Let us try. And we did the Ferber method, so it was the intervals of crying. And after that, she slept great.
So that's what worked for you, is getting your sleep back, really.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was it sounds like you were able to grasp what was going on, even though for the first 3 months you had a doula, so it was helpful. You were able to grasp what was going on pretty quickly and get the help, and you stayed open to suggestions, which was probably, I think a lot of times with anxiety, what happens is we get very rigid. So it's really hard to accept feedback because we're in fear.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Again, like, applaud to Bridget for like thinking outside the box and being open to suggestions so that, you could experience a better quality of life.
That was really hard because I wasn't really open to suggestions.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was really hard. I kind of did it more of a like, so I could say I told you so to my husband and my mom when it didn't work.
And it ended up working, right.
But it ended up working, so.
And everybody has their own, whatever. Honestly, I really believe, like, for me, whatever works for your family.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
keeps everybody healthy is what works.
100%. That's my attitude, too, is you do what you got to do for you and your family.
Yeah. And if everybody's healthy, then that's really what matters. Yeah. And it sounds like it was helpful for you. So sleeping really helped you recover.
Yes.
The second time.
Yeah.
So you have so much to offer. You're an advocate for the Postpartum Resource Center. You volunteer for them. You teach preschool, which is awesome. You basically live and breathe supporting women and making sure that they feel safe and supported during their postpartum times, and pushing for education so that they feel empowered to know what's going on with them. And again, I'm just so impressed by you doing, oh my gosh, by you trying, so many times, not trying, but running, I guess it's called running for Mrs. New York. Is that what you would call it? Or
competing or vying for the title.
Yeah, vying for the title. 4 times. I mean, just, I really, even our interactions, had no idea about kind of how dynamic of an individual you are. I got that you're an author, that you're Mrs. Suffolk County, and that you advocate for the Postpartum Resource Center, but the story behind all of that is really just incredible. And I'm also very grateful for your honesty, talking to us about how you had already experienced some depression, anxiety in your life prior to your pregnancy, which put you, at risk for things. I think is a really important thing to share with people, because I think a lot of people avoid sometimes those issues. Yeah. And really knowing yourself is the only way to help yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the fact that you were honest with yourself about those things and just saw them as, your tendencies, like own your tendencies, that helped you.
Yes. It did a lot.
So it sounds like you've been kind of this like go-getter from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
The perfectionist,
But it sounds like you've been able to ease off on. Yeah. That's why you call yourself recovering.
Yeah. I'm still going to be a little bit of a perfectionist.
That's your tendency.
It's just, that's kind of how I'm wired. But I'm much more gracious with myself and more like kind to myself about things. I'm not as rigid and, things have to be done, and I'm accepting, I'm more willing to accept help. Like, if you would have asked to help me before I had kids, I'd be like, no, I got this. Or even when I had my first daughter, like early on, I was like, no, I got this. Like, I didn't want help.
Yeah.
I didn't, and not that I didn't want it, I just felt like
I could do it myself.
You're like expected, like
right.
There's those expectations that we're supposed to do all of the things, and it's not humanly possible to do all of the things all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, hey, can you watch Natalie while I go take care of myself? And my self-care that I had started was ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's so cool.
So my mother-in-law was awesome, and she would come over and watch my first daughter when I would go out and do ballroom dancing lessons.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now we have a babysitter who comes over, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's my hour to myself to have fun, and I get to be silly and sassy and, like,
Yeah.
you know, do all sorts of, like, fun things, and it's how I care for myself. But yeah, you have to be accepting of help, and, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help if you're, you know, struggling to ask for help for, you know, I need to go to a support group, I need to go to therapy, and, you know, can someone help me make a lasagna, or, you know,
something,
like
even
something,
basic things.
anything. Can you watch the baby so I can please go take a nap?
Yeah.
Can I please take a shower without the baby, like, having to be right there?
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So seeking, you know, asking, being open to asking for that support, it sounds like what you're saying is a really important component to being healthy and being open to kind of like an interconnectedness. And one of the things that we say with at Dynamic Moms is when mothers feel supported, they thrive. And when mothers thrive, families flourish. So I think that sounds like that's exactly what happens.
Absolutely.
You know, because you're really the pulse of the family, especially when you have small children. And I just want to end our time today, because I know, you know, we have to be thoughtful of time. With a question for you. Do you feel like, and this is something that I like to ask people, because with Dynamic Moms, one of the things that I am finding more and more is that motherhood has really provided a lot of us with the opportunity to not only, you know, mother our children and grow our families and all of that, but also it's served as sort of an awakening experience for our own personal development, because we are inspired by our children and, you know, wanting to be there for them. And also sometimes they serve as mirrors for us or wake up experiences. Would you say that motherhood has really served kind of as a catalyst for you to expand as a person and have that
100%.
acceptance factor?
100%. Because I think, like, as bad as the postpartum depression and all of that was from becoming a mom, it kind of gave me, like, gifts in an odd way of, I was kind of forced to, like, rediscover myself after feeling like I lost my identity.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I totally had lost, because I was so focused on my career, and, like, that, if you asked me back then, so who are you? Like, tell me about yourself. Like, I would have told you I'm a teacher, and, like, that's, like, all I would have really had to say. And this gave me, like, kind of forced me to take care of myself and learn all about myself all over again. So I had learned that I have, like, interests, like competing in pageantry, and that I had always wanted to write a book, but now it gave me, like,
incentive
and a reason to write a book. And, you know, I have grown so much as a person.
Yeah,
like,
through motherhood. I think that's a fun opportunity to, you know, it's a fun perspective that you can take on it, because I know myself as a mother, many mothers that I meet, at some point in our motherhood journey, have we felt like I'm just somebody's mom. I don't know if you've ever felt that way.
Yes.
Right? And I know that I speak to a lot of moms, and at some point in their journey, they feel like I'm just somebody's mom, you know, which is an incredible, amazing thing. But when you're in that, you can feel that loss of identity, and it's like, you know, really, who am I anymore? You know, and you have this desire, though, to be a little bit more than what you're actually doing in life. And you feel like perhaps you can't. I think what you're saying, and with the whole idea of allowing motherhood to be an opportunity for us to develop personally, it's really an opportunity to choose to rediscover yourself. And, you know, you're even more than you were before, because now you have children that inspire you every single day.
Yeah, and my kids are pretty amazing.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
really amazing.
Oh, that's
Little girls,
awesome.
and
I love that.
They're amazing.
That's awesome.
They keep me on my toes.
That's beautiful. Oh, wonderful. Your daughters are so really, really blessed to have you as a mom.
Oh,
like
thank
such
you.
Yeah, you're already, like, they're already, like, set for awesomeness with you as an example.
Oh,
I'm
but
really,
I hope so. Thank you.
yeah, you got it. I mean, they're people, like we're all people, like things happen, but you know, like parenting counts. And
Yeah,
it
sure
just
does.
sounds like you're a pretty awesome mom.
Thank
so
you.
you're welcome. All right, we should say goodbye. So thank you guys for watching, people who joined us, and anybody who has any questions, please feel free to drop, let's call it a yellow heart in the comments, and we can always communicate those to Bridget and she can get back to you with any of those questions. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye.